Hi everyone, this is Julie with Beadaholique, and today we're going to make this pair of earrings together. This is a little Day of the Dead pair of earrings. We've got some pretty Raven's Journey Czech glass beads, which are the flowers, with some beautiful TierraCast skull beads, and this one actually has vines going over it, which is so cool. And then for the earring hook, it actually is a flower as well. And I think the antique copper finish is really nice. So this is the earring that we're going to be making together, and it's really quite easy to do, but I think it's very fun design. Now, I do want to show you a couple other things on my table real quick before we start making the design. I was playing around with this combination and I came up with another earring. I'm not going to make it in this video, but I wanted to just show you what you could easily do with very similar components. So this is actually a different earring hook. It's a TierraCast rose bead, and then we've got those pretty Raven's Journey Czech glass beads as well. So this would be a variation if you don't want to do the skull. And then this was just something else I wanted to show you. Is another thing I was playing with. This was just using some little spacer beads and then doing some wrapped wire loops. And I originally thought what I was going to do is just make a nice pair of long dangly earrings using these. So just a couple other options as you're creating. Feel free to deviate from my design. There's a lot of different things you can do. Now, I do want to just, before I start making this, I do want to say that this earring here is about as heavy as I would want to go on an earring. It is still comfortable, but the skull does add some extra weight to it. So if you are sensitive to earrings that are, not super lightweight, I would just keep that in mind with this pair of earrings. I would also not add extra dangles to this one like this, because I was playing with that idea as well, and I just thought it got a little too heavy to wear. So just a quick little note about that. Okay, so what are you going to need? You are going to need some pretty flower beads. Like I said, I'm using Raven's Journey Czech glass beads, and I've got a couple different shapes. Here I've got a smaller flower and a larger flower and a couple different colors as well. Then this really cool skull bead. You see that? And he's got the hole right there. Super detailed. And then my earring post. So you're just going to put an earring back of your choice on this. And you see it's got that little loop there, and it's a flower. Okay, I'm going to clear these other guys away that were just examples of fun extra things you could do with the same design. Now for tools, you're going to need a pair of chain nose. I always have two. I like to have two around, whether I use one or two. It's nice to have two. A pair of wire looping or round nose pliers, and then a pair of cutters as well. So those are your basic tools. We've got our supplies right here, and I just saw that we are missing our head pins. Okay, so really quick, I am using a head pin right here in antique copper as well. It is 2 inches long and 22 gauge thick. Very, very easy to make this. So if we look at it again, you see that these are all anchored on the same head pin. They're not individual links, and we've just created a little wrapped wire loop. So what we do is we're going to start with our biggest bead first, and we're going to place it onto the head pin, and that head just stops it from going anywhere. Then we're going to go ahead and take our skull bead, and he's got a little hole at the base. Put him on. Finally, our little flower. Okay, so you've got all 3 of your beads on here. Then you're going to take either your wire looping pliers or your round nose, and you're going to grab it just a little bit above where it exits the last bead. So you have a little bit of a gap. So you want that little bit of a gap just so that you can do your wrappings. Okay, and then you can squeeze, and you can see it does a lot of that work for us. Rotate and crisscross. Now what we have to do, because we're doing a wrapped wire loop, and because our earring post has a closed little loop at the base, you can see that little loop right there, we need to attach it to our earring before we wrap. So what you saw that I just did right there is I just notched it open a little bit, just pulled it apart a little bit. Okay, at this point, you're just going to slip on that little loop to your earring hook. So you see right there, it's kind of down in that well. Okay, now we're gonna just pinch it with our pliers. We're pinching that loop back in place and straightening it up. Now we're gonna go in there and hold And try and make it so you can see this as easily as possible on camera. Okay, so we got that little loop. What we want to do is you want to hold the base of the loop with your pliers. So we've got that earring hook attached, or earring post I should say, and we've got our wire right here. Okay, so now what we want to do is wrap. So I'm just using my fingers. Now if it's too hard to wrap with your fingers, this is 22 gauge wire, so it should be pretty soft. You can always use your second pair of chain nose pliers, and that's why you have them around. But I'm just wrapping with my fingers to make a little coil. Once I've done several wraps, you can see them right there, I'm just gonna trim off the excess wire. Okay, and this is a really important part. You're now gonna tuck that wire end in so it doesn't scratch on your skin and doesn't catch on your clothing. To do that, it can be a little hard to see, but we're just gonna pinch our wrappings and pinch that little end into them. And that just tucks it away so that it won't scratch you or your clothing. Okay, and then let's see, and you can still have movement here. You can see I can still twist the skull bead so he's facing forward. But there we go. We finished our pair of earrings. So super easy to do because they're all just on that one head pin, so that you just are doing that one wrapping up top. You're not making individual links, so it's very easy to do. And they've got nice movement to them. So this is my Day of the Dead earrings. I hope you enjoyed this. You can find all the supplies over at Beadaholique.com. Thanks everyone.